nta magambo menshi mvuga umwanya wagiye.
I will not say a lot of things, we don't have the time.
Twakira umushitsi mukuru.
But before we receive our honorable guest,
mu Gifaransa gatoya.
I will speak in French.
Je voudrais reconnaître la présence de notre sœur Madame Sandra Nkulu Kyungu.
We would like to recognize the presence of Madame Nkulu Kyungu,
qui est notre compatriote de la RDC.
Who is our patriot from LDC.
Nous remercions beaucoup pour la compassion envers notre peuple banyamulenge.
We thank you for your compassion for our people banyamulenge.
Si vous pouvez vous mettre debout,
and we'd like you to stand up if you're able
pour
to,
qu'on puisse vous saluer.
So that we can greet you.
Si Madame Sandra elle est ici.
If Sandra Nkulu is here.
C'est notre compatriote de la RDC.
She is from our Congo.
Elle a la compassion envers les victimes de Gatumba.
And she has compassion especially for the survivors of Gatumba.
Elle est aussi parmi nos alliés.
And she's one of the allied.
Et alors peut-être après on va en parler un peu. Merci.
And afterwards we'll speak and we thank you so much.
Murakoze cyane.
Thank you.
Kwakira umushitsi wacu mukuru.
To receive our honorable guest.
It
is heavy on me. Not only because of his name, but it's for his position. In his life, he's a doctor. And we don't have a lot of people who have 2 PhDs. And he's also a professor. And he also is a doctor to people. He was willing to leave America, where he was working, because of the burden of the people of the Banyamulenge. This is why I say that it is hard for me to even represent him. But because of my responsibility as the president, I would like to ask you all to stand up as we welcome him. Professor KANIKI, Freddy. Thank you for being our great leader. And he's among the ones that are doing great things.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you. We thank you. And again, be comforted today. As we remember our people who died because of the way they look, because they couldn't bear to see them living. I will speak in English, and I will try to go fast.
The theme of this year,
when we
mark the 21st commemoration of the Gatumba massacre, honoring the victims, seeking justice, and fighting for denial of the genocide targeting the Tutsi in DRC. Dear brothers and sisters, honorable guests, and advocate for justice. Today we stand together to honor the memory of those who perished in Gatumba on the night of August 13 to August 14, 2004.
Uyu munsi duhagaze hano twibuka abacu biciwe Gatumba ku ijoro ryo kwa munani 13 ni 14 2024.
It's a genocide and should be spelled as such, genocide of Gatumba, based on the selective nature and character and the level of preparation as well as the intent behind the killing.
Ni genocide kubera ko bisha abantu babahisemo kandi n'uburyo ki yateguwe.
The 21st commemoration marks a sacred moment.
Ubu ngubu ubwo twibuka ku nshuro 21 n'umwanya uhariwe.
The time to mourn 166 souls.
Ni igihe cyo kwibuka abantu barenga 166.
But also a time to reaffirm our unwavering commitment.
Kandi no kongera kwibuka uruhare rwacu.
To stand in solidarity with the survivors.
Guhagararana mu bumwe n'abasigaye.
And a commitment to justice and peace.
Kandi dushaka ubutabera n'amahoro.
As we grieve today,
ubwo tubabaye,
let's also carry hope.
Ariko reka tugire n'ibyiringiro.
Hope for a future where the truth and justice will prevail.
Ibyiringiro by'akazoza keza aho tuzabona ubutabera.
And a future in which no one will live under fear because of their identity.
Akazoza aho tutazongera kubaho mu ubwoba bwabo turibo.
This atrocity
ibi bintu byabaye
was not random.
Ntabwo byapfuye kuba gusa.
It was planned and carried out
ni ibintu byateguwe kandi byakozwe
by a coalition
n'abantu bifatanyije hamwe
that we all know.
Kandi twese turabazi.
And today none of them has faced justice.
Kugeza uyu munsi nta numwe muri bo urabihanirwa.
A joint UN report was filed on October 5th, 2004.
Raporo muri UN yatanzwe mu 2004 kwa 10.
But the UN mission in Congo, at the time it was called Monique, and the UN mission in Burundi.
Ariko UN mu Burundi,
all of which confirmed that these attacks specifically targeted the Banyamulenge for their ethnicity and for political reasons.
Kandi raporo yemeje neza yuko abanyamulenge bishwe kubera ko ari abanyamulenge ndetse no ku mpamvu za politiki.
It was not an isolated incident.
Ntabwo ari ibintu byakozwe bitateguwe.
But a tragic expression of a deeply rooted anti-Tutsi ideology.
Ahubwo ni ibintu byakozwe mu rwango rwinshi rw'abantu banga abatutsi.
And a narrative that continues to shape the Great Lake region today.
Kandi ibingibi na n'ubu ngubu biracyakomeje cyane cyane muri Grand Lake.
As we commemorate Gatumba today, we honor the victims of ethnic violence and recommit ourselves to the ongoing fight against impunity and justice denial.
Ubwo twibuka abanyagatumba dukomeje kwibuka abantu bose bazize ibi bintu ndetse tukomeza no gushaka ubutabera.
This genocide did not just happen. There is hate speech and so many other things that preceded.
Iyi jenoside ntago gusa yabaye ahubwo hakomejeho no kuvuga imvugo z'urwango.
There was a change in citizenship law and legislations in the Congo.
Habanje kuzaho n'amategeko ahindurwa yo kubona ubwene gihugu.
Dehumanization.
Kudahereza abantu kuba abantu uburenganzira.
1 year we were Congolese, the following year we were denied our citizenship.
Umwaka umwe twari abakongomani, undi mwaka ntago twari twemerewe kwitwa abakongomani.
1972, 1981, 2004, all those years mark different legislations that introduced either an affirmation that we were Congolese or a denial of citizenship that revoked our citizenship in the Congo.
Muri 1972, 1981 ndetse no muri 2004 bakomezaga bahindura amategeko, umwaka umwe tukaba twemerewe kuba abakongomani, undi mwaka ntibatwemereye kuba abakongomani.
As a result, the Tutsi candidates for legislative offices were disqualified on the basis of so-called questionable citizenship or questionable nationality.
Kubera ibi ngibi rero habayeho kutakira aya mategeko bakomeza bakora ko bakomezaga bayahindura.
In 1991, we were kicked out of the Conférence Nationale Souveraine because of questionable citizenship.
Muri uyu mwaka badukuye mu nama yari yateguwe kubera ko batemeraga yuko turi abakongomani.
This was a reflection of the deeply rooted ethnic prejudice at the time and an attempt to strip the Tutsi of their citizenship and render them effectively stateless.
Ibi byerekanaga urwango rukomeye bafitiye abatutsi ndetse ko bashaka no kubaka uburenganzira bwabo.
And as the story in the video said, this is despite the presence of our ancestors dated 1704 in what was to become later the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Kandi ibi byose babikoze nkuko babyerekanye muri video birengagije yuko abatubanjirije bageze muri Congo kuva kera kose.
There has been a state orchestrated exclusion, a systematic exclusion.
Babikoze mu buryo ki bagenda batandukanya abantu bakabashira ahabo.
This exclusion of the Tutsi transformed them into a permanent target for violence.
Kubatandukanya n'abandi bantu byari byoroshye cyane yuko babica.
As this has pushed people, has pushed our neighbors to consider us foreigners.
Kuko ibi ngibi byatumye abaturanyi bacu batubona nk'abanyamahanga.
And to feel like we stand between them and their happiness.
Kandi bakumva nkaho duhagaze hagati yabo n'ibyishimo byabo.
There are so many killings. I'm not going to name all of them. My fellow participants have named quite a few.
Ni kenshi ni imyaka myinshi hagiye abaho ubwicanyi ntabwo ndi buze kongera kuvuga kuko babivuze mbere.
The Mulele War in 1964 to 68.
Tuvuze kuri Murere intambara yabaye muri 64 kugeza muri 68.
And the 1995 when we were given 1 week to leave the country.
No muri 95 igihe baduhaye icyumweru kimwe gusa kugira ngo tube twasohotse mu gihugu.
1996.
Muri 96.
That's when I lost my father and 3 brothers in one morning, September 22nd, 1996.
Nibwo nabuze papa ndetse n'abakuru banjye batatu muri icyo gitondo.
One of my brothers at the time was only 11.
Icyo gihe umwe muri barumuna banjye yari afite imyaka 11 gusa.
He did not speak Kinyamulenge.
Ntabwo yavugaga Ikinyamulenge.
He did not know he was Tutsi.
Ntiyari azi ko ari umututsi.
We barely knew who we were.
Icyo gihe nta nubwo twari tuzi mu by'ukuri abo turibo.
To the time of his death, he never knew why he was dying.
Kugeza igihe bamwiciye ntiyari azi impamvu bashaka kumwica.
When the level of intolerance reached that level,
iyo rero ibintu byageze kuri urwo rugero,
we question our humanity.
Dutangira kwibaza ubumuntu bwacu.
And we were called names.
Batwise amazina menshi.
Snakes.
Batwita inzoka.
Cockroaches.
Batwita inyenzi.
Random invaders.
Batwita abantu bavuye mu Rwanda.
Words kill as surely as weapons.
Kandi tuzi neza yuko amagambo arica nkuko n'imbunda zakwica.
And hate does not begin with violence, it begins with words.
Kandi urwango ntago rutangizanwa n'imbunda ahubwo rutangizwa n'amagambo.
The exclusion of the Tutsi in DRC served as a fertile ground.
Gutandukanya abatutsi muri Kongo ibi nibyo byashizeho itangiriro.
For radicals who used the 1981 law to dehumanize them.
Ku bantu batanze itegeko ryo kutabafata nk'abantu.
By stripping Tutsi communities of their humanity, hate speech has laid the groundwork for atrocities like the Gatumba massacre.
Kandi ibi byose nibyo byaje nyuma guteza genocide nk'izabaye mu Gatumba.
This dangerous rhetoric has been weaponized and widely disseminated by politicians.
Kandi ibi byose ntago abanyapolitisiye bigeze babihereza agaciro.
Wide group, like armed groups on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you saw the messages that were played on the video.
Abantu benshi bakoresheje social media kuri Twitter, kuri Facebook, mwabonye message bagendaga batanga hejuru y'ubwoko bwacu.
And including even government officials.
Ndetse bamwe muri bo bari muri guverinoma.
When the Eleazar Ntambwe, the appointed as Delegate Minister of Defense in August 2025, launched the campaign of de-Rwandalization, calling for the expulsion of and or elimination of the so-called Rwandan infiltrators.
Umugabo witwa Eleazar Ntambwe muri uyu mwaka wa 2025 yatangiye avuga ko bagomba gukura abantu bose b'abanyarwanda muri Kongo.
This is hate speech.
Kandi ibingibi ni imvugo y'urwango.
When Patrick Muyaya uses the expression Rwandan poison,
Patrick Muyaya we yavugaga ngo ni uburozi bw'abanyarwanda.
A dangerous form of hate speech that stigmatizes Congolese Tutsi, especially in the context of ongoing anti-Tutsi violence.
Abangaba ni abantu benshi bakomezaga bavugana n'urwango cyane cyane bibasiriye abatutsi kandi biri kugaragara mu rwango abantu bari kwanga abatutsi b'abanyarwanda.
And because of all those things, violence against the Tutsi communities in the Democratic Republic of Congo has intensified both in frequency and in brutality.
Kandi urwango rukomeje kwiyongera yaba ari mu magambo ndetse no mu bikorwa.
Marked by an alarming rise of dehumanization.
Kandi bakomeza kwica abantu cyane.
The Gatumba massacre, in which 166 perished,
muri Gatumba aho abantu barenga 163 bapfuye,
that stands as a painful symbol of this trend.
Ibi ngibi ni bimwe mu bibabaje bitwereka iyi trend iri kuba.
It's by far not an isolated incident. It's rather a pattern.
Kandi turabizi neza yuko atari mu Gatumba gusa byabaye ko ari ibintu bikomeza kuba.
This wave of violence and terror has fueled a toxic ecosystem of hate speech.
Kandi ibi ngibi bikomeza kwiyongera ndetse n'imvugo y'urwango.
And it's not just that.
Kandi si ibyo gusa.
It's hard to seek justice when the person killing you is still killing you.
Biragoye gushaka ubutabera mu gihe umuntu uri kukwica akiri kukwica.
Should we maybe ask for stop killing us before we even start seeking for justice?
Ese tugomba kubanza gusaba bagahagarika kutwica mbere yuko dusaba ubutabera?
21 years after the Gatumba massacre, impunity remains absolute.
Na n'ubu ngubu nyuma y'imyaka 21 baracyakomeza gukora ubwo bwicanyi.
Not a single perpetrator has faced justice, not in Burundi, not in DRC.
Nta muntu n'umwe yaba ari mu Burundi yaba ari muri Kongo wabikoze bigeze bahana.
Nor before any international tribunal.
Nta muntu n'umwe yaba ari no mu butabera buri hejuru.
In 2004, like many said here before, the FNL Palpehutu under the leadership of Agathon Rwasa took the responsibility.
Nkuko benshi babivuze bakomeje babivuga bamwe nka Agathon Rwasa babyemeje ko babikoze.
The responsibility of the attack through their spokesperson, Pastor Habimana.
Babivuze baciye muri Pastor Habimana ko aribo bakoze ubwicanyi.
Agathon Rwasa today is enjoying a very successful political career in Burundi.
Agathon Rwasa kugezana n'ubu ngubu arimo kwishimira ko afite igiti gikomeye mu Burundi.
And Pastor Habimana remains untouched by justice until today.
Ndetse na Pastor Habimana kugeza n'ubu ngubu nta kintu baramukoraho.
Evidence also points to the movement of and the involvement of Congolese armed groups.
Kandi ndetse n'abakongomani benshi bafite intwaro.
The two companies based in Kiliba, allegedly under the command of Major Ekofo, are reportedly to have crossed the Rusizi River and participate in a massacre, and still no official investigation has never been launched in DRC.
Aya magroup abiri bamwe bayobowe na Major Ekofo na n'ubu ngubu nta kintu barabakoraho.
The total absence of justice
kutabona ubu butabera
sends a very dangerous message.
Hari message ikomeye iteye ubwoba bari gutanga.
That ethnic massacre
ko ubwicanyi
can be committed without consequences whatsoever.
Bushobora gukorwa ndetse ntacyo babatwaye.
As long as impunity reigns.
kandi uko bazakomeza gukora amarorerwa kubuza ubutabera,
true peace in the region remains impossible to reach.
Ntago bizakunda ko amahoro aboneka.
Justice is not a luxury.
Ubutabera ntago bwakugombye kuba bugoye kubona.
It's a requirement for healing, reconciliation, and a future free from violence.
Burakenewe kugira ngo abantu bomoke ibikomere kandi babeho mu buzima budafite kwicwa.
As I said, Gatumba is a painful symbol.
Nkuko nabivuze, kubona Gatumba ni simbole ibabaje
of the suffering of the endured by the Banyamulenge, but also reflects a broader tragedy that continues to affect the Tutsi communities in the Great Lake regions.
Itwibutsa ibyo abanyagatumba baciyemo ndetse n'umubabaro ukomeje bikomejwe kuba ku Batutsi bari muri Grand Lake.
By remembering those who perished today,
ubwo twibuka abapfuye,
we also pay tribute to all victims of ethnic violence.
Dukomeje no kwibuka abantu bose bari kwicwa bitewe nuko basa.
All across the globe.
Aho hose bari kwisi.
Those whose lives have been cut short.
Abantu bose ubuzima bwabo bishe.
Those whose stories remain untold.
Abantu bose inkuru zabo zitaramenyekana.
Their memory is our strength.
Ariko turacyabibuka nizo mbaraga zacu.
This remembrance is not just an act of mourning.
Iyo twibuka ntago tubikora gusa mu kubabara.
It's a pledge to never forget and a call to break the cycle of silence, impunity, and indifference.
Ahubwo tubikora kugira ngo tuzahore tubibuka kandi ko tutazaceceka.
Denying justice,
kudatanga ubutabera,
whether by the Congolese state or other actors,
yaba ari muri Kongo cyangwa n'abandi,
is a second act of violence against the victims.
Nugukomeza batubabaza cyane cyane abasizwe.
To deny what happened in Gatumba or to ignore the broader pattern of persecution against the Tutsi,
guhakana ibyabereye mu Gatumba ndetse n'ibiri kubera ku Batutsi,
is to erase history.
Nugushaka gukuraho amateka.
Silence the suffering of the victims.
No gushaka gucecekesha ababikorewe.
This refusal to acknowledge documented atrocities, including those organized by the United Nations, obstructs justice as well as reconciliation.
Gukomeza kwanga ibyavuzwe ndetse n'ibyakozwe no gukomeza kutwima amahoro.
Denial not only dishonors the dead and the survivors, but also sow seeds for future violence.
Gukomeza kubyanga ntago bihesha agaciro yaba abapfuye ndetse n'abasizwe, kandi ni imbuto iba ishizweho mu kazoza ko kugira ngo akomeze kwaho no bwicanyi.
Confronting the truth is the first step towards breaking the cycle.
Twakagombye gushaka ukuri kugira ngo twice ino circle yo gukomeza kwicana.
The denial of the Tutsi persecution by the Congolese state is not accidental.
Kandi ukukwanga ubu bwicanyi ntago ari ibintu biri accident.
It's part of a calculated effort to deflect attention from the internal failure and legitimize ethnic violence.
Ahubwo ni ibintu byakozwe biteguwe kugira ngo batemera ubu bwicanyi buri kuba.
By framing the suffering of the Congolese Tutsi as a byproduct of the so-called Rwandan aggression,
bafata buno bwicanyi bakabwica,
gufata ubwicanyi batwica bakabwitirira ko ari ukubera ko igihugu cy'u Rwanda cyateye Kongo, ni kinyoma. Government spokesperson Patrick Muyaya, for instance, often calls that the Tutsi citizens are well represented and integrated, ignoring the lived reality of marginalization, scapegoating, and targeted violence.
Umuvugizi wabo Patrick Muyaya iwe avuga yuko abaturage b'Abatutsi ari nta kibazo bafite, yirengagiza ibibazo byinshi bakomeza guhura nabyo.
This narrative not only distorts the truth but also emboldens those who perpetrate hate under the guise of the national defense.
Uku kwirengagiza ukuri gukomeza guhereza imbaraga aba bari kubikora.
What's even more alarming,
ikindi kibabaje
is the pressure placed under some Banyamulenge leaders by the Congolese government to publicly deny the existence of the persecution.
Ni imbaraga zishirwa mu banyamulenge bari mu nzego kugira ngo bakomeze bahakane ibiri gukorwa.
In order to demonstrate their loyalty to the government.
Kugira ngo bakomeze kwerekana ko bafatikanyije na guverinoma.
How can justice be expected from a state that refuses to acknowledge its own failure?
Ni gute ubutabera bwaboneka mu gihe abantu banze kwakira gutsindwa kwabo?
By promoting individuals like Justin Bitakwira,
bahereza ama promotion abantu nka Justin Bitakwira,
whose rhetoric obviously fuels hate,
umuntu wuzuye urwango rwinshi,
in position of power.
Bakamuhereza position y'imbaraga.
By doing so, the government not only enables impunity,
mu gukora gutyo guverinoma iba yakiriye urwo rwango,
ishoboza impunity kwanga ubutabera,
ishoboza kwanga ubutabera,
but also undermines the sincere efforts towards reconciliation and national unity.
Kandi bigatuma hatabaho nuko kwihuza.
So we are fighting today for our fundamental rights, the right to exist.
Ubu rero turimo turwana kugira ngo tubeho.
The right to belong in a society that has too often pushed us to the margins.
Kugira ngo tubeho muri societe yakomeje kutwigizayo.
The very institution that should guarantee our protection, the state, has failed us.
Abantu bakagombye kuduhereza ayo mahoro ntayo baduhaye.
This abandonment has left our community exposed.
Ibyo bituma community yacu iba nta protection ifite.
Our voices unheard and our rights denied.
Ndetse amajwi yacu ntago bayumvishije ntibaduhereza uburenganzira bwacu.
Yet from this neglect emerges a new determination.
Ariko ibi byose kutatwumva hari icyo byakoze muri twebwe.
We rise.
Turahaguruka.
We rise not in bitterness,
duhaguruka tudafite urwango cyangwa se uburakari,
but in purpose.
Ahubwo dufite umugambi.
We will no longer be silenced.
Ntago bazongera kudushishekesha.
We demand acknowledgement.
Turasaba ko batwumva.
We demand justice.
Turasaba ko ubutabera.
And the full protection that citizenship must guarantee.
Kandi ko bagomba no kuduproteja nk'ababa mu gihugu.
When people are denied protection,
iyo abantu batarinzwe,
self-defense becomes a duty.
Baba bagomba kwirwanirira.
History has shown us that those who do not defend themselves are destined to perish.
Amateka twereka yuko abatirwaniriye bararangijwe.
We cannot continue to place our survival in the hands of the state that has shown indifference at best and complicity at the worst.
Ntago twakomeza gushira ubuzima bwacu mu biganza state y'abantu batumara.
No one can protect us better than we can protect ourselves.
Nta muntu waturinda nkuko twebwe twakwirinda.
Our safety, our future, and our dignity depend on our ability to stand and say no.
Akazoza kacu kari muri twebwe dushobora igimuge twashaka kuvuga oya.
We will no longer be passive victims.
Ntago tuzongera kwicara ntitugira ico dukora.
Self defense is not just a right.
Tugomba kwirwanirira kandi n'uburenganzira bwacu.
It's our only hope for survival.
Kandi nibyo byiringiro byonyine dufite byo kubaho.
It's the foundation upon which our pride, our freedom, and our future must be built.
Niyo fondation tugomba kubakiraho mu kazoza kacu.
From the ashes of abandonment, we must rise with resolve and unity, knowing that our ability to defend our people is the first step towards reclaiming our humanity.
Nubwo baturetse tugomba guhagarara tukirwanirira.
As we mark the 21st commemoration of the Gatumba massacre,
ubwo twibuka ku nshuro ya 21,
we do more than remember.
Dukora ibirenze kwibuka gusa.
We commit.
Tugomba kugira icyo dukora.
We commit to preserving the legacy.
Tugomba kugumana legacy yabo.
Legacy of those who left us.
Legacy y'abadusize.
In the end, let me end with these remarks.
Reka ndangize mvuga ngo.
A quote from Martin Luther King.
ndarangizanya na quote ya Martin Luther King Jr.
In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.
Mu nyuma tuzibuka ntago tuzibuka amagambo y'abanzi bacu ahubwo tuzibuka umutuzo w'inshuti zacu.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Ubutabera ahantu ariho hose kutabona ubutabera no kutabona ubutabera ahantu hose.
God bless you.
Mani bamugisha.
Arakoze cyane umuyobozi.
Thank you, our leader.
Kandi turamushimiye.
And we are very happy.
Twatinze reka dushimire.
It's very late. We're going to thank